All right, so after the news report on the hospital attack, which seems to be now pretty clear that it came from Hamas or the Islamic Jihad, we go right to Senator Tom Cotton of the great state of Arkansas, member of the Armed Services Committee. Senator Cotton, welcome back to the show. Are you satisfied now? You've heard all the evidence, I suppose. It seems like it came from the terrorists. Do you have any concerns about it?
Larry, I was satisfied yesterday in the immediate aftermath of this strike. Israel does not strike civilian targets. It certainly doesn't strike hospitals without clear military necessity. That's the tactics that Hamas uses. And once the Israeli Defense Forces released video of terrorists in Gaza firing rockets right next to the hospital and the intercepts of them discussing it, corroborated by American intelligence agencies, there's no question that terrorists in Gaza were responsible for the deaths at this hospital, as is often the case because they use hospitals and schools and mosques as military targets, or they have total indifference to operate next to those otherwise protected sites. There's no question, Larry, that there's two sides of war crimes here. Hamas is committing war crimes in Israel, and Hamas is committing war crimes in Gaza.
Yeah, you know, I was going to ask you, I mean, Hamas has a whole history of this. Rocket launchers right next to schools, hospitals and so forth, churches, mosques, the complete disregard for civilians, utter disregard for civilian life of any kind. And there's also some talk, Senator, that buried underneath the hospital, and they've done this with schools, they have various armaments and munitions. They hide them right there in those, sensitive civilian areas.
Well, it wouldn't be surprising, Larry, because, as you say, there's a long history of Hamas and other terrorists dedicated to the destruction of Israel using the most sensitive civilian sites, like hospitals, like schools, like mosques, to fire weapons, to cache weapons, to use for command and control facilities. Those are, when used in that way, legitimate military targets. But here, it was simply the gross indifference to life that terrorists in Gaza have that resulted in rockets that were meant to be shot into Israel in an effort to kill Jews that killed many of their own people.
Senator Cotton, let me come back home because you've been strong spokesperson. You may have legislation, immediate deportation of any foreign nationals that support Hamas. I don't know how far it goes, whether it's Hamas or other terrorist groups. Can you tell us about that? Is it a piece of legislation? Can it be done by executive order? What are you thinking, sir?
No, it's not legislation, Larry, because the law already makes support for terrorist activities or groups grounds for inadmissibility in the country or deportation for any foreign national in the country. An American citizen has a First Amendment right to make a fool of himself or engage in morally depraved speech. But no foreigner here does, and we should not allow people who are here by the grace of our country advocating for Hamas, defending its massacre of women and children and the elderly in Israel to stay here for another day. Joe Biden and the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, should take immediate action to start finding the people who are advocating and defending Hamas, and they should remove them immediately. We wouldn't have allowed this kind of fifth column in the Cold War. We shouldn't allow it now.
Senator, speaking of the fifth column, would you include other terrorist groups, or let me say all other terrorist groups?
Of course, Larry, we should never allow someone who advocates for terrorism or terrorists into our country. Again, throughout the Cold War, support for communism or the Communist Party was ground for inadmissibility or deportation from the country. The same thing should be the case for advocacy for any kind of terrorist organization or terrorist group.
Isn't this, Senator, isn't this what Trump did a couple years back?
Well, he took various actions to protect the country from terrorism. For instance, imposing bans on travel from countries that have known terrorism problems, for which there's no effective government for which we can vet the backgrounds of people entering the country, or offering using this exact kind of statutory authority to prevent terrorist sympathizers from entering the country. And he certainly helped close our border to ensure that we didn't have potential terrorists entering our country. Right now, we have no clue the risks that we might have coming across our southern border.
So, Senator, let's go back to the Middle East problem. The administration today announced a whole series of sanctions on Hamas leaders. I think some of this is going to go into Qatar, Turkey, and so forth. I was just thinking, sir, I'm okay with sanctioning Hamas, tough sanctions, maximum sanctions, but they kind of left out a country that has escaped sanctions in the last couple years. I guess I'll just say it, Iran. Why is it they're going after Hamas? Okay, fine, I'm good with that. But why don't they reimpose tough maximum sanctions on Iran, which is the troublemaker, the financier, the puppeteer, and the master planner? I don't get it, Senator.
Well, you're right about Iran's role in supporting Hamas. Hamas would not exist as a military and terror entity without Iran bankrolling it, financing it, training its fighters, and so forth. It's not just, Larry, that they don't impose new sanctions on Iran. Today, believe it or not, is the day that multilateral sanctions on Iran's missile program expired under the failed nuclear deal. That's right. This day, 8 years later, is the day that multilateral sanctions on Iran's missile program, which they're currently using to help Russia kill Ukrainians, expired because Joe Biden, even after this massacre in Israel, would not reimpose those multilateral sanctions to the United Nations. And the reason they won't do it, Larry, is it would be an indictment of 11 years of the failed Obama-Biden-Iran policy.
Well, so did you see Blinken, the State Department, put out a long thing about sanctions on the ballistic missiles and UN? I guess there's UN inspection. I haven't read all of it. Maybe you have seen it. My question to you is, they've re-upped it today, the last day, as you point out. Are you satisfied with it? Does this work?
No, not at all, Larry, because the sanctions they're talking about are national sanctions that we can impose or that European nations can impose. There's nothing, though, to stop those nations, to include the Biden administration, from changing their tune later. These multilateral sanctions that could have been imposed under the nuclear deal at the United Nations were the one things that could have bound sanctions nation or worldwide against Iran. So no, I do not accept that as satisfactory. And in fact, it's just another example of how President Biden has emboldened Iran to think they can get away with backing Hamas as they undertake the kind of terrorist atrocity we saw a few days ago in Israel.
Can there be hearings on this, on the flaws in this thing? Because this is a gigantic issue. I don't think most people were aware of it. We discovered it a couple days ago. I've asked some of your colleagues about it, but this is an enormous thing, sanctioning ballistic missiles. And, Senator, I just want to go back on the Iranian economic and energy sanctions. Isn't there some way to have some kind of bipartisan, I mean, right now Democrats are talking a good game, some kind of bipartisan reimposition of maximum primary and secondary sanctions on Iran? So it's the ballistic missile sanctions and it's the economic and energy and business sanctions. I mean, Iran is the culprit. Hamas, yes, of course, but Iran stands behind everything, as you just said.
Well, Larry, unfortunately, Congress, in a bipartisan fashion, could throw the kitchen sink at Iran. But if President Biden refuses to enforce those sanctions, they won't be very effective. We have sanctions in place on Iran for the sale of oil, yet the Biden administration has not vigorously enforced those sanctions for the last 3 years, enriching Iran to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. And guess where most of that oil goes, Larry? It goes to China, our number one enemy in the world. This all gets back to President Biden's continuation of Barack Obama's failed Iran policy, which has done nothing but to embolden Iran to spread a campaign of terror around the Middle East.
All right, Senator Tom Cotton, we appreciate your time and your point of view, sir. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Larry.